Hey guys, welcome back. Today we've got Christopher Travers to talk about virtual influencers, which is a pretty cool topic. I'm not sure anyone else has something quite as awesome as what you guys have been building, but you've been working on it for a long time, so I'm not surprised. Tell me a little bit more about Zero and what you guys are doing here.
So behind me you're seeing this image of Zero. He's a virtual being who is going to go on YouTube, on Snapchat, on TikTok. He's a virtual character who, the story of Zero really is, he's a virtual character who doesn't know that, he's a virtual character that doesn't know what it's like to be a human. And he's trying to find that out.
Yeah.
So in effect, he lives in this lair, and the only way that he can find out what it means to be human is by browsing the internet. And so his comedic, out of touch take on what he sees is what drives the story forward. So he's always unpacking, always reacting, and that's the fiction of it in the experience.
So what kind of inspired Zero? I mean, because I know you guys have worked on a lot of really cool virtual, but what makes Zero different from the others? What brought him about?
Yeah, we kind of have, I think, this cyberpunk-y inspiration at the core of our team. A lot of cyberpunk really inspires a lot of us. Sci-fi inspires a lot of us. And so in the early ideation stages, we were thinking like neon, we were thinking dark, we were thinking city, like those themes. And also just like stories of maybe like someone who needs to find their way. And that just drove us down that path of that like cyberpunk, like Zero lives in a lair by himself. He wakes up in the lair, he doesn't know where he is, and he has a robotic arm. And so it's just this inspiration of, like, I would say cyberpunk's a big inspiration for Zero amongst the stories that surround Zero, in the space. Like the teams in the space are brilliant, and we really look up to a lot of the other players. It's just like this amalgamation of inspiration from the past few years of what we've been building.
And obviously virtual influencers is something you're leaning into quite heavily, but what made you start with virtual influencers, not just work with influencers like everyone else? What kind of inspired you to go this route?
Yeah, in 2013, while I was still in college, I ended up launching a couple of social media apps with my co-founders up in Canada. I say up in Canada, I'm from the United States myself. In effect, these social media apps were atypical in that they allowed you to be anonymous or pseudonymous. So you could share a thought, a compliment, a question, a concern with your peers at your university through a different identity. And so early on, it was just this empowering mechanism to be able to express yourself that I didn't even realize had the potential. This idea that maybe when you adopt a pseudonym, you're maybe more true to yourself. And that was something that we saw really emerge in that experience of launching those apps. So ever since then, giving people social experiences focused on toying with identity and expression and finding out what you would say through a pseudonym versus what you want to say in real life. I've arrived at this conclusion that ultimately I do believe that through a virtual self, you could hypothetically release all anxiety of social pressure in the end and just share, what's on your mind fully and truly.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that would be a great stepping point into the metaverse, because the metaverse is this, it's an option to kind of reinvent yourself, or to every time you go onto the virtual world and interact with people, you can kind of reinvent yourself if you so choose. So, I mean, is that something you're looking into? How are you kind of looking at blockchain and the metaverse and where you go from here?
Such a good question. That premise of reinventing yourself is so key. People do this in real life. They reinvent themselves, right? Like they maybe get a new career, move to a new city, find a new friend group. Those are forms of changing who you are, right? Because we are so influenced by our environment, by the people around us at the same time. In a virtual world, it's as easy as, jumping to a new game or jumping to a new map even, right? A different VR chat server, right? Whatever it may be. And so, or changing your avatar, right? So for me, with the blockchain, what that represents is, for the first time, you can actually own your character and you can port that character to other experiences. Because your NFTs exist in your wallet. They don't exist on a server. You own those assets. And so now what ends up happening is you can build an identity online, and you can show up somewhere with that identity. And then when you leave, you take the identity with you. And that's just so new and so cool to me. And just really building on everything that I've been thinking about online identity and being pseudonymous, but also being multiple, in a weird way, being multiple personalities, depending on how you want to express yourself, right? Like the people at my university when I was in school know me differently than the people I pursued my career with, than, you know, my tightest friend groups and family.
Yeah.
Like everyone has a perception of you in a different way.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see this map into the virtual realms through the maps that we interface with, the characters that we decide to use. But all in all, underlying all of that, I believe the ability to maintain ownership and ensure that your identity remains one package that you retain and move around with you is going to be a key part of it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Zero over here took how long to build?
Well, the underlying tech took multiple years, but the actual character himself, maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
So how far are we away from having my own virtual influencer being built for myself, my games, in a matter of moments? Is that something you're looking at, or?
Oh yeah, certainly. There's so many tools out there right now that allow you to just spin up a character. That's something to note, right? Zero, we pride on fidelity, like immersion, fidelity, the graphics, the way the hair moves, the way the clothes fall on the character, and the underlying rig. These are all important pieces to a successful media experience that we're focused on. So, however, there are so many platforms out there now that you can just make an avatar using, right? One I absolutely love, I know the founder of, is called Ready Player Me. In effect, you can create an avatar, and then it is integrated with hundreds of different platforms. So you make one avatar for the metaverse, and then you can go to different places with that avatar.
Pretty cool.
Now, to note, you can't make experiences like what we're going to be building, which are these like 3D immersive virtual world shows. In effect, you know, beings brought to life on video who believe they are real. But you can use an avatar for certain, you know, purposes of like profile picture, running around in a game, and other things like that.
Okay, so the story and building the personality of an avatar, that takes some time. But the fidelity of Zero, having the fidelity of Zero in the click of a button, how far away from that?
You know, it's weird because there's a hack to get there, is to build off of the commercialized characters other people have made at that fidelity that are available online. And you can actually go and purchase these on various platforms. A high fidelity character ready to go, but it's not going to be integrated to any system that you can necessarily use. So you're going to have to see a mix of technology getting developed that allows you to interface with these character files in a way that's super fluid. And that brings me to the VTuber space, which effectively are these platforms where you can make 2D animated characters controlled using software from your desktop, like computer, like your webcam, you know, but it's very low fidelity. So we're going to see a mixture of an increase in sensor technology, such as from the iPhone, the front-facing camera, or perhaps from some other form of motion capture gear that gets very inexpensive and accessible. All the way, I think the ultimatum is just straight from the webcam in the end, though. But then we're going to see better integration with really high fidelity characters getting created. Like I said, Ready Player Me is taking a stab at it. Maybe in 5 years they'll be upping that fidelity pretty significantly, and depending on their network to really like dominate the space. But yeah, maybe like 5 years you could press of a button, make a very high fidelity human, and be talking into a webcam, and it could look legit.
Yeah, awesome. I think then the other question that is probably worth asking is, if you've seen your talk or discussion with Zero, which is was a really cool show. Like, if you had told someone that, hey, this is actually AI and not something you guys have been doing in the background, someone may believe it if they had if they maybe weren't privy to all the kind of work you've done. So do you see a point where you start to kind of build the tools or find a way to kind of have AI accelerate the characters that you're building?
I have been thinking about the role of AI. I hadn't thought about AI before, but once I got into the virtual human space, AI was immediately on the mind, and it's always been kind of on the back burner. It's always been, something I've been watching. I've been testing all of the options, I would say, the integratable AI tools. Here's the truth. The best AI software is going to be centralized by companies like Google who know how to make it well and have hired full teams to do that. You'll see rarely that independent teams arrive at really intricate AI without using that technology. So I'm waiting for Google to create advance OpenAI further to be more integratable, and then see what people build atop that layer of apps that we could integrate behind a virtual human, such as a Discord chatbot. That's something available today.
That'd be very cool.
It is actually available today, and you could create that behind a virtual human. But what's going to power maybe a virtual human talking in a way that is captivating, that actually is contextual, that has memory? AI has its limitations right now. And I'm deeming it not ready to be plugged in fully to the experiences. But there is a future reality where AI reaches a point that you can slip it in behind the human and let it ride. And I think, I don't know the timeline is, but that said, that's something to look out for in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be cool. I am concerned that Terminator will eventually play out, but I mean, it will look good.
Yeah.
So
At least it'll be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be half fidelity apocalypse, but that's fun. I don't know if there's, before we wrap up, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about. If there's, I mean, you've got an agenda. There's things that you've had to, follow through. Is there any other discussions you want to bring up, or?
Yeah. Something that people ask me a lot of questions about virtual influencers, and there's a lot of blame on the virtual influencer medium that I think is maybe misinterpreted, in that virtual influencers are a neutral medium that anyone can use for any purpose. In the same way that you can use a podcast, a photo, a video to do something with that medium, you can create content with. So virtual influencers are not inherently positive or negative. They're a neutral, usable medium that are widely accessible. So a lot of people are going to try to demonize virtual influencers as a premise, but that is totally wrong. You have to demonize the use cases that you believe are wrong and go after the creators who are doing, ill will or trying to, make deep fakes for certain reasons. Like there's going to be political questions later about all of this that we'll have to answer to. There's going to be personal questions, like if you're replicating someone's identity. These are questions we're going to have to face, but it's not a medium issue. Okay. It comes down to who decided to use that medium for what purpose. And so again, we see the same thing. I don't go after photos for some bad photo I see somebody took. I don't say down with photos. I question why that person made that decision and what the implications are. So that's something that really early on, I'm already hearing people saying virtual influencers are so bad, just in general. But I really don't like demonizing mediums.
Yeah, I mean, look at the dude. He's lovable. I mean, I don't understand why anyone would hate him. Like I said, he reminds me of Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So, I mean, I think Zero's pretty cool. So, yeah, guys, I mean, don't hate on virtual influencers. Hate on the people who put the bad ones together, right?
Thankfully, I actually haven't seen many examples of that. It's a very positive space, and there's a lot of forward movement, but we'll see what happens when there's a million of them.
I mean, yeah, my brain is starting to be concerned, but that's okay. But thanks so much anyway, guys. It's been good chatting with you. Hope you stick around for a little more.
Yeah.
Show Zero maybe to a few more people.
Definitely.
And we need to talk about having you guys put a virtual influencer in our platform.
Oh yeah.
We need a gaming mascot for sure.
Oh yeah. Maybe Zero could be a next character in the game.
I mean, look, if he's open, if he's looking for a new job. Anyway,
I'll talk to him.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Thanks, guys.